I've gone ahead and watched Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan for the first time. Let's get into my review. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Oceans Reviews here today. So yep, as I mentioned in the intro of my video there, I've gone ahead and watched Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan for the first time, and I'm here bringing you my review, my first thoughts, my first impressions of this film, and what did I think of it. So this film would be my first introduction into the Star Trek franchise. I've always kind of been ignorant when it's come to Star Trek. Like, I've always sort of been on the sidelines with it. Like, I've kind of always wanted to get into it and give it a go, but I've never fully committed, just because I've kind of been intimidated by how much content this franchise has to offer. Like, it's got a bunch of TV shows, movies. I never knew like where to start. How do I get into this franchise? Where do I go? What do I do? So kindly, some of the guys that I met here on YouTube, some blue tubers, if you will, on here, that are massive Star Trek fans, have recommended that I'd watch Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan for the first time, you know, for my first introductory sort of film into the franchise. So that's what I've gone and done. I've sought out the movie. I've gone and picked it up at CEX, which was good. And yeah, so I've watched it. I only just watched it last night, so my thoughts are pretty fresh. I did jot down a few things that I had in mind about the film, you know, sort of after watching it, I was thinking about it. So I've jotted down a few bits and pieces, and yeah, let's get into it and talk about it. So first, I'm just going to go over it as I normally would. I'm going to give you like my honest opinion. Completely honest, and let's go through the pros first. The pros of what I think, the pros. So first of all, I really wanted to talk about the space naval combat in this film. I thought it was amazing. I loved how the crew members sort of communicated with each other while in battle, you know, when they're engaging with the enemy. I thought that was really cool. I loved how that's done. It's really well acted. It's super enjoyable, and yeah, it's just a great sense of adventure in this film, great sense of action, and it's just super engaging and really fun to get into. Yeah, that was done really well. I hope that all Star Trek films are quite similar to that. I mean, I'd assume they are in terms of the combat, like, and how they engage with enemies and things like that. And I just, the communication with each other and how it's done, it just sounds really cool and just interesting. But other than that, I also really enjoyed the look of the set design. Now, when going into this film for the first time, I was worried about sort of the time period that it is filmed in. You know, a lot of people that I have talked to about, you know, this film and Star Trek in general have grown up with it. So for me, going back to the, you know, this time period, you know, for when it was filmed in, I was worried about, you know, what the film is going to look like. You know, it's not going to be like up to today's standard, obviously, and you know, sometimes I feel like I might not enjoy a film because of, you know, it just doesn't hold up, you know, in that sense. But I did not have this issue with this film. It looked fantastic. The little special effects that were used probably don't hold up till today's standard, with like the worm going into the you know, the guy's ears. But other than that, the film looked fantastic. I was actually pleasantly surprised with even the, you know, the Blu-ray. It just looked really good. It just looked really good on the TV. I must admit, I was really surprised. Even the set design was fantastic. I liked all the technology that was used in the film. That looked amazing. It was just a beautiful looking movie. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. The story element was really good. I liked the direction they took with it. I thought it was quite interesting and engaging. So I didn't have a problem with that. I thought it was really good. Now before going into the film, I did think about whether or not, I was worried like there's going to be like some story elements I might not understand because, I'm a newcomer to the franchise. I'm a newcomer to these movies, and there's going to be a few things, and I guess like technical jargon that they might use that's canon to the story that I might not understand. But I felt like I didn't need to have any like prior Star Trek experience to enjoy this film. So in that respect, it was good. It was really good that I was able to enjoy it and follow the story really easily. So I was pleasantly, I was happy with that. The story came naturally to me. I was able to enjoy it. Now let's talk about some of the cons that I have with this film. I did think it was a bit slow in places. I'm not too sure why, but there was some parts of the film where you sort of do feel the runtime a little bit for some reason. I can't really pinpoint why, but yeah, just some parts of the film it did feel a little bit slow, which was kind of a bit weird because it felt like the film had a steady pace and a good balance of everything. So I'm not too sure, but it just felt slow in some places. Now I want to talk about the villain, Khan. So I want to talk about him. Well, what do I think about him as a villain? Now, I didn't really think at first he was such a compelling kind of villain. Now, when people have been talking about this film and Khan, I've always thought, like, I got the impression that he was a really compelling, scary sort of villain, and I felt kind of overhyped a little bit for me, like, to an extent. Like, I felt like he didn't really, as a villain, didn't feel like a dangerous, intense, scary foe, He just felt like a regular guy to me. So, I mean, the title says The Wrath of Khan. Like, I felt like I sort of expected a little bit more in that regard. But other than that, those are the sort of the cons that I had with the film. So not really too many things to sort of pinpoint and talk about. Overall, I really enjoyed this film. I had a great time with it. I also wanted to talk about something else. So with Khan's character, the way he's introduced, he's sort of introduced in a way where you're kind of expected to know who he is before even getting into this movie. Like, his introduction didn't feel grand, or like it just didn't feel like a villain introduction. It just felt like, yeah, this is Khan. You guys have met him before, but I guess maybe he might have been, in a previous TV show or something, so maybe that's the reasoning behind that, why he's didn't have this sort of grand introduction to the audience. At least for me, he just didn't feel like it didn't feel his introduction was really that, like scary, like, you weren't like, oh, it's Khan. It just didn't feel that way, like, for me. Just felt like, oh, there's Khan. Here's this guy. But, other than that, those are the sort of the kind of the small little issues I have with the film. Maybe you guys can shed some light on that and talk about that down in the comment section below. Maybe Khan was featured in a previous episode prior to this movie or something rather. But I just didn't feel like the character had a really strong introduction. Because, I mean, I guess, like, you don't really learn too much about him throughout this film. So I'm guessing that he was already sort of introduced in an earlier date or something. So yeah, those are the sort of what I was thinking about, at least what was going on and around in my head. But there you go, guys. That's my review of Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, my first sort of introductory movie into the Star Trek franchise. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing my thoughts. I mean, I'd love to, hear what you guys think of my review and what I thought about the movie down below. I know some of you guys are massive Star Trek fans, and there's an ongoing debate. Now I'm gonna have to get to the later movies as well, and I feel like The Wrath of Khan might not be my favorite movie going forward. Maybe I might enjoy some of the more modern films a bit more, but we'll have to see. I am looking forward to continuing on and watching some of the movies. Maybe you guys would like to hear my reviews for all of these films and what I think. But yeah, a solid first experience. Now, if you are, sort of wanting to get into Star Trek as a franchise, I highly recommend this film. I think it was a great, as I said, first introductory film into the franchise. And I had a really good time with this. So I feel like it's something that I would rewatch in the future. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my review. Love to hear your thoughts down below. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.